you are coming out, you are not following the trend. You are like, you are doing boyish kind of thing. So when a child gets uh, what should I say, like the elders prohibit him from doing the things that the child itself wants to do. Because for a child, the concept of gender is very fluid. Like, we have everything inside us. It's not about, if I am born as a girl, it's not going to be like I'm going to do some certain kind of things and going to not to do certain other things. So as for the workplace, if we talk about the gender, even though the government and the society and our textbook and everything around us, the media, that boys and girls should be given equal rights, and that girls should be encouraged more to study, to get degrees, and to get jobs, and get equal respect, and get paid equally, everything, and all safety and everything. But when you just bang your head into the very face of reality, the scenario is completely different. Like, you can be you see, there is no written format for kind of rules, but you see, you have to pick it from the behavior and the silence that
You're
is
right.
maintained.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Tapshi.
In
Yeah,
the,
you're going in the right
yeah,
direction. Yeah, we are going to
thank you,
study
ma'am.
same. And
uh,
I appreciate the responses of Karina, Padmini, Aarti, Miss Aarti Mittal, Tapshi. You spoken well.
Thank you,
Sangram,
thank you.
Xavier, Mahima, Isa, Umar, Deborah, Dr. Migusho, Mek, Sylvester, uh, Titilade, Jervin, Xavier, Sangram, and so many people have answered, and I'm glad to have received the responses. So I will proceed. Some issue with my internet. Yeah. So gender in today's contemporary world means two things. One is sexual identity, and second is sexual orientation. Now, what is sexual identity? Sexual identity means how do you identify yourself on the binary opposite of male and a female. Where do you see yourself? You either see yourself as a male, or you see as a female, or you see somewhere in the middle. Like, you don't see yourself standing anywhere of the two places. And in the work of gender studies, this concept of gender has evolved a lot since last 20-25 years. This concept of gender has evolved a lot. Today, when we talk about gender, it's not only male or female. It's transgender. It could mean bigender, agender means no gender, belonging to no gender. Like, if I am agender, I will not recognize myself on male or the female side. And cisgender means if I'm born as a woman, I will be identifying as a female. And if somebody is born as a male, he will be identifying as a female. So that is one is sexual identity, about the sex, and second is sexual orientation. Sexual orientation means your inclination, your attraction. You are heterosexual, homosexual, asexual, or bisexual. So you understand my point? Then when we talk of gender today is not only male and female. It can mean your sexual identity, and it can mean your sexual orientation. There is a difference between sex and gender. Sex is anatomy. Sex is the organs, internal organs, external organs, ovaries. It could mean ovary, uterus, or it could and genetics of the person, and its hormones, biology. If it is a female, sex means that the person would have ovaries, or the person would have uterus. And if it is a male, the person would have the male internal external organs. That is biology, that is anatomy. And but gender is social and cultural roles that is given to the person by his birth. If the person is born as a female, she will be assigned a female role. And if the person is born as a male, he will be assigned as roles of a male in the society. So, and this discussion of gender, whatever we are doing, has its roots in feminist movement. Like we were not talking about gender and man, women, or transgender, bigender 30, 35 years back. When feminist movement developed and when feminist movement completed its third wave, at the end of the third wave, this gender discussion started. So we all would be knowing about gender, and as we know that gender talks about the secondary position of women in our society, in the whole world, not only society, but at the whole world. Like so, and feminism was born in 1880s. It was born in France, but it traveled to England and America. First to England and then to America. So we read this, when we read this, we understand the social construction, that why there was a necessity of feminism as a movement. Like a Chinese poetry book, it says that when a son is born, let him sleep on the bed and give him fine clothes, give him jade to play with. And when the daughter is born, let her sleep on the ground and give her common wrappings and give her broken tiles to play. This is a very ancient Chinese book. So we see that it is not only discussion of this a particular part of the world. It is prevalent. This discrimination was prevalent in the whole world since the times immemorial. So the role in the society, role of women in the society was given from the birth, as well as the behavior that she would be getting from birth to the death. So uh, in the second sex, Simone de Beauvoir says that woman is disclosed first as wife in the patriarch, since the supreme creator is male. Before being the mother of the human race, Eve and Adam were companion. She was given to man so that he might possess her and fertilize her, as he owns and fertilizes the soul. So man was using woman as his farm, as his land. He was plowing her, conquering her, and sowing in her to reproduce, to invest in the generation. So this all Simone de Beauvoir wrote in the second sex. In when we talk about England feminist movement, it was not there since the very beginning. I mean, in 16th century, women had very gender stereotyped roles. It was male oriented. Yes, Elizabeth I was ruling the country, but she was considered more as a man, as a woman, because the general thinking was that a woman couldn't rule a country. If a woman was ruling a country, it means she has more traits of a man than a woman. Uh, uh, because a woman could not achieve greatness by herself. Something was special in her. Something special means something manly was in her, that was qualifying her to rule in a big great society as English society. And except few women, maybe not even 2%, 3%, women had the roles of housewife. Like women had the roles of, they were polite, they were gentle, they were very easily flexible to the norms of society. But time changes. 17th century got some leniency in the gender roles, but it was not, change came only to 20 to 25%. People started favoring the education of women. But education of women for what? Education of women for her to serve the home, for her to serve the family, not for the development of self, but for the serving of the family. Like Mary Wollstonecraft writes that in public schools, women, to guard against the errors of ignorance, should be taught the elements of anatomy and medicine, not only to enable them to take proper care of their health, but to make them rational nurses of the infants, parents, and husbands. For the bills of mortality as well by the blunders of self-willed old women. So she should, if she is studying, she should serve the country. She should serve the family, serve the husband and old women and infants. In 18th century, saw the publication of Women Treatise, Vindication of the Rights of Women by Mary Wollstonecraft. We see that from 16th century to 18th century, the time is changing. I just read this. In 19th century, 1858 in London, English Women's Journal was established, was set up. And in that journal, people were discussing the women-related issues. In 1859, Society for Promoting Employment for Women was constructed. And in late 19th century, women started asking for social and educational development for themselves. They wanted educational opportunities and employment opportunities. And then in 1848, Queen's College and Bradford College opened their doors for women for the first time. Married Women's Property Committee in 1855 was established that led to the passage of Married Women Property Act in 1882. So before this act, any property owned by any woman automatically became her husband's upon marriage. Married women were also legally not allowed to draft any will or control of their property without the name of their husband. So this was a changing time for this property establishment of this passage of the act led to a changing time in the lives of women because now they could own their property on their own name. They could own their property and they could manage their property without the interference of any male member. Then we come to feminist movement in America. In 1837, Harriet Martineau, she wrote Society in America, and she was focusing on the condition of women in America. And she knew that a feminist movement was extremely needed in America. Because she says, while women's intellect is confined, her moral crushed, her health ruined, her weakness encouraged, and her strength punished, she's told her that her lost is cast in paradise of women. She has the best place in the stage coaches. When there are chairs not enough for everybody, the gentleman stands. She hears oratorial flourishes on public occasions about wife and home. Her husband's hair stand on the end at the idea of her working, and he toils to indulge her with money. She has liberty to get her brain turned by religious excitement. In short, indulgence is given to her as a substitute of justice. So when we talk about American feminism, first comes American white feminism. And contrary to this, not exactly contrary, I should say, when Black feminist movement came, they were actually asking for indulgence. They were actually asking for what white women were rejecting. Like white women did not need to work. So that is another part of American feminist movement that we will take some in some other session. But American feminist movement started talking about, excuse me, American feminist movement now started talking about that no, women did not want indulgence. They want their own independence. They want to be on their own, as their English counterpart were doing. So there were so many women who were progressing towards American feminist movement, like Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Mary Anti-Clintock, Lucretia Mott, Martha Coffin Wright. And in 1848, two-day convention took place, and what they wanted was social, civil, and religious social and civil rights of women, and they discussed the same. And then a declaration of sentiments and resolution was passed. And in 1848, American feminist movement started. So various resolutions were passed, and resolution number 9 was right to vote, and it was ridiculed. Why it was ridiculed? Because people were against suffrage, because it is supported the docile image of women. Voting wanted women to show up, to come out of their houses. And how could they come out of the houses when they were supposed to be confined in the four walls of their homes? Voting was something considered as masculine. That is why in 1848, when they talked about voting, when they talked about suffrage, it was ridiculed that how could women vote? If only men can vote, because men could only think sensibly. Women, how could they think sensibly when they were confined in the four walls of the house? And it took 72 years for women to get the right to vote. So such a long time to achieve that right. Feminism has three waves. First wave started from 1848 to 1920. So first wave was it was equity feminism. First wave was equity feminism, and it showed that there was no difference between men and women, only the biological difference, and society should make no discrimination between them. That was liberal feminism. Liberal feminism only talked about equality, and sorry, excuse me, give me a minute. Hmm. And then with this liberal feminism was going on Marxist feminism. Marxism, as we all know, that it held capitalism and economic inequality to be the reason of imbalanced system of male and female in the society. So they had the same equity root, that there was inequality. Means they were saying that they were men and a woman, but they were unequal because of the social discrimination and the economic discrimination. So Marxism was more focused towards the problem of working class women. Some problem with the slide. Just a moment. Excuse me, please. I'll just resume.
So as we prepare to continue with Dr. Shaitza,
Yeah.
we are
Just give me a second. I'm just trying to fix it.
Rose, there is some technical problem with Dr. Shaista regarding the PPT. Please give her some time.
Yeah.
so
Just in few
I
seconds,
just
I'll be
wish to
able to fix
pass,
it.
as she's
I
fixing it, I
just
just wish to pass out some information which has to do with how we can get, if we missed out on this session, we are fortunate that our technical team is recording this live on YouTube. So we are going to share the YouTube link. It's already in the chat box. And then the second thing is, that's why we invited you to have your pen and paper down, so you can please be jotting down something. So these are the two options that we're providing for you to stay up to date with what's happening if you happen to have some technical issues. So just kindly indicate if you still have any challenge. Dr. Shimanes and Dr. Shaitza are there to support you. Thank you.
Dr. Shaista, I have this
yeah.
PPT. Can I share it?
I'll just log out for a while and join again. That would be okay?
Okay.
Because yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
If you wish, I can share your PPT because I
Mm,
too have your PPT.
Yeah, just a moment. Yeah, I also have, but here it is. Mm, I'll just exit and join again in a while.
Yeah, yeah, you may. And I request all the participants who have joined today, please keep your paper and pen and write the notes, because in the last session you have to present, you have to discuss, and we are not posting the PPT because we want your views, and we want you to work hard. These are we want you to watch it on YouTube again and again, so that you can understand and you can work on your own work, not copy paste from somebody else. You watch our YouTube channel GPLT, where you will get the session, uh, all this session, and you can watch it again and again, and you can summarize it, you can learn it, you can take the point from this presentation. Dr. Shaista has joined from another account. Dr. Shaista, I can present your PPT if you are finding it.
We really apologize for the technical hitches, but we're sure that in a few seconds we are going to be back with the
Rosa, I
PowerPoint.
am sharing her PPT. Are you able
Absolutely
to
good.
see it?
Thank you so much, Dr. Shimenez,
But
for
I
starting.
am not able to see it. Can you pin the PPT?
Yeah, I can be able to see it from my end.
But
So
I am not able to see it. Can you pin it?
mm,
I am not able to see it. So can you pin it? Pin the.
I'm not able to see where to pin it. So
Joseph or Norman sir, can anybody help?
so every other person is admitting to be seeing the presentation.
I cannot. I am sharing the PPT, but I am not able to see it.
So you stop sharing right now. So
Yeah,
we
because
can.
I'm not able to see it.
So if we have Norman and Joseph with him, if you can help, please, that would guide. We're finding some difficulties. We're having some.
I'm
Okay.
online and with you, but I think he has the PPT file.
Okay. I think I can see the PowerPoint now going towards
Yeah.
the section where we had Dr. Shaita speaking.
Dr. Shaista, are you there? She was talking about, I think, three waves of feminism.
I think we lost Dr. Shaitsa. She's still to sign in.
Okay, I think we can start. Ha, she has fixed now. Dr. Shaista?
Yeah, she's on now. So can
Yeah,
you
yeah.
unmute your microphone, Dr. Shaitsa? All right.
Dr. Shaista, your phone is off.
Can you see my screen, please?
Yeah, we can see your
Yes,
screen.
yes.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Some glitch with the internet as well as, yeah. So here we go.
Yes, we're listening to you. It's quite audible now.
Okay. So we were talking about the first wave of feminism, that was liberal feminism, and together with the liberal feminism came Marxism feminism, and they had the same foundation. They were talking about the same thing, that is the difference between men and women, that was biological, and they should be treated as equal. And but Marxism focused more on the economic inequality. When second feminism came, was from 1920 to 1920 to 1960, that was the quiet years of women's movement, but it was preparing a more forceful ground for the second wave. Two books published in the period. First was Virginia Woolf's Room of One's Own, and the second was Simone de Beauvoir, The Second Sex. Simone de Beauvoir book was still considered powerful because it laid the foundation of so many works, right from feminist movements, waves of feminist movement, to gender studies and queer theory. On December 1961, John Kennedy issued executive order establishing that President's Commission on the Status of Women. In 1963, the final report of the commission was issued, and it said that in reality, it was not only in theory, in practical also, women of America were inferior. It was proved. And the publication of PCSW led to the foundation of NOW, that is National Organization of Women, by the same members of PCSW. So we see that what Virginia Woolf was talking in 1949, people started discussing it, talking about it, and it proved successful, that women were subordinated in a very systematic way, that it was being perpetuated since the time immemorial, and it had become the norm of our normal society. In 1966 and 1969, a huge protest against Miss America pageant was organized. And as we all know that women, they burned their undergarments on road just to protest against, because they did not believe in presenting women as an object, as a beautiful object to be admired and used. Second wave movement was not alone. With second wave, there were so many movements that were running parallelly, just such as anti-Vietnam War movement and the gay movement. So we see that with the second wave came the gay movement, civil rights, and the Black Power movement. So along with the feminist movement, Black movement also came into light. Second wave, so we see the second wave has so many branches, the liberal, Marxist, the radicals, and the gay movement, Black Power, so many movements. It has so many diversified, it has so many diversified status, and it has so many branches. And in 1969, Kate Millet's sexual politics came. It was the core of the radical feminist movement. She was here talking about the politics between the races. So when the politics comes, we start to see the complications in the society, that it is not a normal discrimination. The problem was not a normal problem. The problem was compound. It was more complicated. It was more multi-layered than we could see. Now in 1990s, third wave feminism came, and it expanded the scope of feminism, bringing the issues of race, gender, and sexuality also in its wave. So third wave feminism was talking about constructive and useful. Third wave feminism negotiated some constructive and useful policies for women, such as there were no maternity leaves, and there were no laws against sexual harassment. But now they were asking about it. In 1964, first shelter of battered women in US was open. Oh, until now, till 1940, 1950s, nobody was talking about the discrimination against women. And now people began to accept there was discrimination. And in 1964, they not only accepted, they opened a first shelter of battered women. It was the full-fledged acceptance. It was a full-fledged show that yes, the condition was not as it was shown to the whole world in the media. In 1994, so late, Violence Against Women Act was passed in America. So October is deemed as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. 1994 is just 33 years back. And then we see a landmark book, Gender Trouble. So everything was going, everything was going in its usual course. People are talking about inequality, about the policies, about feminism, all three waves of feminism, and came Judith Butler, and she disrupted the whole discourse. How did she disrupted the discourse? Butler in 1990 wrote Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity. And here she says that category of women on which feminism relies might be politically effective in terms of securing the visibility of women issues, but it perpetuates the error of conflating gender identity with biological identity. So Judith Butler says that two identities are different. Women in their feminist movement, it's good that they are trying to secure a place, a good and safe place for women. But when they are talking about women, they are talking about gender also, that women means female gender. It was not the same. I hope you're understanding the point of Judith Butler. She's saying that feminism was perpetuating the heterosexual norms about the two binary opposite, male and the female. When we talk about feminism, we see that yes, male are different and female are different. Why Judith Butler is saying no, it is all fluid. And she says that gender is performative. It is a landmark statement of Judith Butler. She says that gender is performative. How gender is performative? She is building the wall on the building her arguments on the premises of Simone de Beauvoir. She is saying that how it is performative. When we say, she says that when we say that gender is performative, it means we are acting as we are told to act. We are consolidating. When I say that I am performing as a woman, it means I am walking, talking, eating like a woman. So she is not in the favor of putting a tight difference between man and woman. So she has almost deconstructed the whole premises of feminist theory. She is saying that feminism should challenge the concept of men and women, while feminism is consolidating this foundation. But they shouldn't do. Then she asked the question, what is a woman? How do feminists define a woman? So do they say that woman is the one who wears certain kind of dress, who walks in a certain kind of way, who behaves in certain norms that is assigned by the society? Here comes the social constructionist theory of feminism. Here comes the saying that was first said by Simone de Beauvoir, that a girl is not born, a girl is made. She says, how do you first define woman? Who is a woman according to you? So gender is stylized repetition of acts through time. I am a woman or I am a man because I have been behaving like a man or a woman since last 20, 30, or 40 years, because I was told by birth that I'm a woman or I'm a man, and I have to act in a certain repetitive way. I had to perform. That is why she said gender is performative. And then she said gender is performative because features of cultural discourse institute such as masculine, feminine, heterosexual, homosexual, it also makes happen by establishing an identity that the social individual assimilates and the pattern of behavior that she enacts. So she says, uh, if a gender is performing, that is why it is a gender. So, in the book, The Second Sex, Simone de Beauvoir said that childhood is characterized by different social expectations for boys and girls, like how a boy is going to behave and how a girl is going to behave. For example, a boy will climb tree and girls will do knitting and sewing, and the girl will cook food and boy will play outdoors. So it was all systematic, it was all written, and it was being encouraged by the society. So for example, pink is for girls and blue is for boys. Boys don't cry and girls don't behave in a certain way. So that was social expectations that was being fulfilled by men and women, girls and boys of the society. These social expectations are always presented as natural, and they said that they were born with these traits. Boys like climbing trees and girls like pressing flowers. Any divergence from the script seemed to confirm it. When girls climb trees, claim alter, it means they want to be equal to the boys. Like for girls and women is less constrained society today, because Simone de Beauvoir exposed the internal working of the society. Though it is sobering how much her description remains true in 70 years later, yet to appreciate her insight into the value of parenting, we need to consider exactly why she thinks this gender conditioning is wrong. So now, what is gender studies? When we talk about the academic field of gender studies, it is about gender difference, it is about sexual difference, it is about masculinity and femininity, and how gender is interacting with race, ethnicity, nation, and religion. When we say gender, it's not only we are studying about Judith Butler and before Judith Butler, Simone de Beauvoir. It is we are systematically studying the meaning of sex and gender in our culture and in our society. It examines and challenges social norms around what it means to be a woman or man in a society and to pursue justice and equality for all, which should be fundamental facets of development. So the objective of general study is that it says while sex is given by nature, gender is socially constructed. There should be no equity in dealing with this different genders, be it male, female, bi, trans, or neutral. Butler follows the path of Derrida and deconstructs. Butler follows the path of Derrida and deconstructs the narrative that feminism propagates. She adopts Derrida's skeptical. Derrida, as we all would be knowing, that he was a deconstructionist. He was a post-structuralist, and like Derrida, she adopts Derrida's skeptical procedure for subverting the binary opposite. Like if we are saying there's a male and a female, there's a black, there is a white, there is a day and there is a night. We are perpetuating it. We are confirming it. Since 1990, the term queer, earlier we would be using it derogatorily, but now we use it not in that way. It is adopted freely by all the genders, by lesbian and gays, to identify a life and an area of scholarly inquiry. Queer theory, in a very deconstructionist way, it inverts the hierarchy in which heterosexuality takes the mainstream and relegates every other orientation and identity in the background. So after we see gender studies, it proceeds toward queer theory, and queer theory is acquiring under its umbrella all kind of studies, the sexuality, the orientation, and the gender. Queer Nation was formed in America in 1990, and it is an LGBTQ++ organization formed to fight against the violence against not only lesbians and gays, against transgenders, bigenders, agender people, because they were not accepted as the common part or common people of society. And Lucas says that Queer Nation built activism based on sexual identity, not just lesbian, gay, or bisexual, but queer. Queer was used as in your face, catch, all designer label. So it collected every non-heterosexual norm under its umbrella and threw it right back. It was called queer nationalism, a community that confronted homophobia and had collective responsibility for dismantling the power of the closet. Being queer is not about the right to privacy. They are not saying that give us some space. They want to be they want to go public. They want to come out of the closet, and they want to be accepted as they are. Means they are fighting oppression. They don't want to be oppressed. They are fighting homophobia, racism, misogyny, the bigotry of religious hypocrites, and our own self-hatred. And now, of course, it means fighting virus as well, and all those homo haters, sorry, who are using AIDS to wipe us off in the face of Earth. So they are asking for acceptance. Queer means leading a different sort of life. It's not about mainstream profit margin patriotism or patriarchy or being assimilated. They are not. They don't want to be executive directors. They don't want to be in the elite class. But they are talking about why they are being put in the on the margin. They want to first define themselves. They want people to recognize them. What is beneath the belt and deep inside the heart, it's about the night, because they were not being seen in the society. They are being rejected by the heterosexual laws of the society. We are an army because we have to be. We are an army because we are so powerful. And now they are asserting their power. So we see that queer is not only a theory, it's a discourse. Like this, any theoretical discourse, it's not only about the sexuality and sexual orientation, but it is a discourse. Now it's taking a full-fledged activism. It, at its heart, is an anti-discriminatory view of gender as unfixed. And so gender is unfixed. When we talk about gender, we see it not only as male and female, but it's fluid, it's unfixed. It could be anything. A person could identify and relate his identity, his personality with anything, and certainly more complex than our neat binary distinction would suggest. And as David Oswald says, the notion that identity is not fixed but can be played with and contested has been a central element within the recent formation of queer politics. So, we can contest, we can challenge an identity. It means we have to accept people living in the margin. We have to accept their identities. It is so finally this gender studies that goes forward as goes forward as queer theory. It has become a political movement, and it aims to expose the dominant forces that is relegating them to a secondary position, to a third class citizen, not only second class citizen, to a third class citizen, and they're constructing norms. And this is related to societal values as political, moral, etc., and sexuality in particular. So, dear participants, this was about general norms in general gender studies, starting from feminism, not only from feminism, before feminism, to the queer theory and what is gender and how do we look as gender, and how a main theorist in this gender studies is Judith Butler. She started in 1990 the discussion about it, that we started talking about the gender fluidity, that there is no one gender identity, and how today in today's world queer nation has formed. Thank you so much. I want Dr. Shaminaz to take over. Dr. Shaminaz, are
Thank
you
you.
there?
Yes,
Thank you
Rosie.
very much, Dr. Shaitsa Mazi, for your outstanding presentation and your deep dive into the origins, influence, and the scope of gender studies has been both enlightening and thought-provoking. And your extensive knowledge as well and passion for the subject have actually provided us with the understanding that this field's development and its critical importance today can never be underestimated. So thank you so very much. And we continue to praise your insight into contemporary literary theories and their relations to gender studies, and which have been particularly impactful as we find in your presentation. So we truly appreciate the time and effort you have invested in sharing your expertise with us. It doesn't happen every day that we get this for free. So your contribution has set a high standard for our course and enriched our learning experience. And so thank you once again for your exceptional presentation.
Thank you so much.
So please,
Thank you so
if
much.
you have some hearts and applauses for Dr. Shaitsa, kindly channel them in the chat box. Thank you so very much. We are going to come back to you when it's that time to ask you questions and also maybe feedback from your presentation. And so we are going to continue to listen to another distinguished speaker. It will just be a really good one to connect from what Dr. Shaitsa started into what we are going to be having the next few minutes. And so it is an honor for me to introduce our second speaker, Dr. Shimanes Bano. And she is a distinguished bilingual poet, short story writer, translator, editor, literary critic, and lecturer of English. Dr. Shimanes has an impressive body of work, having authored or edited over 29 international books and translated 16 books from Uzbekistan, that is English to Hindu. She is also the author of 2 short story collections, Virtual versus Real World and Other Stories, and The Jasmine Girl and Other Stories. Dr. Shimanes is the founder and president of the Progressive Literary and Cultural Society and currently teaches English literature at Rajarshi Tandon Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Prayagraj,
Rosa,
India.
you can say RTMM. Rose, you can say RTMM. Short
Oh,
form,
good.
RTMM.
Thank you very much. And so she has a PhD in English from the University of Allahabad, India, specializing in South Asian literature, new literature, and contemporary Arab women writers. And with 21 years of teaching experience, she has made significant contributions to the field, including her role as a visiting faculty member of Fergana State University in Uzbekistan. And Dr. Shimanes has also represented India on the international stage, including at the International Dance Festival in Khiva, Uzbekistan, and at an international conference in Fergana State University. Her scholarly work, including 77 research papers published in reputed journals worldwide, and her poetry is featured in numerous magazines and anthologies globally. And we are not ending without adding this to her extensive academic and literary achievements. Dr. Shimanes serves as on the editorial boards of several international journals and is the Indian representative of the International Multicultural Network in Azerbaijan. Today, Dr. Shimanes will lead an important discussion on feminism and gender, feminist practitioners with a particular focus on feminism in India. We're privileged to have her share her vast knowledge and insights with us. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Shimanes Bano. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rose, for such a wonderful description of my work. Thank you. And Dr. Shaista has presented her work in such a high standard that now I am feeling a little bit conscious. Congratulations, Dr. Shaista. Your presentation was incredible. Welcome all. To our GPLT gender study course. Dr. Shaista, your previous PPT is still visible. Can you cancel it? And if possible, you can share my PPT. Dr. Shaista, can you hear me? Your PPT is still visible.
If our technical team can actually close this sharing from Dr. Shaita, this would really help us so that Dr. Shimanes, thank you. She's on stage right now. Thank you, Joseph.
So, Dr. Shaista has already talked about so much about gender studies and about is my PPT visible because I cannot see it.
It is.
Can anybody pin this post? Pin my PPT because it is not clearly visible on my screen. So I will be Noman sir and Joseph, can you pin this one because I cannot see this on the whole screen, my PPT. So I will be talking about gender and feminism, on feminist practitioner and especially on focusing on the feminism in India. Just now, Dr. Shaista has talked about feminism and what is particularly about feminism from the Western point of view. And uh, so, uh, so, what is feminism? The word feminism was coined by French philosopher Carl Fourier as feminism in 1837. My Rosa, can you pin this? Joseph or Norman sir, can you pin my PPT because I cannot see it on the whole screen. So,
Is it okay now? Can you see?
yeah, yes. Okay. So, feminism is a collection of socio-political movement and ideologies that aim to establish equality between the sexes in all aspects of life. It is a belief that women are entitled to the same political, economic, and social right as man, and that women should be able to fully enjoy those rights. Feminism also seeks to end sexism, exploitation, oppression, and to achieve full gender equality in law and practice. So, I will be discussing about some women activists and thinker like Mary Wollstonecraft, Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Alice Stone Blackwell, Emily Pankhurst, Sojourner Truth. So, when we talk about feminism, uh, then the founder of feminism, it's undoubtedly Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft was a British writer, philosopher, and advocate of women rights. She is regarded as one of the founding feminist philosopher and feminists, often cite both her life and her work as important influence. Wollstonecraft is best known for her book, A Vindication of the Rights of Women, which she wrote published in 1792, in which she argues that women are not naturally inferior to men, but appears to be only because they lack education. Women were not able to receive education equal to men in early days. She suggests that both men and women should be treated as rational beings and imagine a social order founded on reason. So, and When we talk about feminism, that then feminism is not only limited to Mary Wollstonecraft. There are other women who have equally contributed, like Suzanne B. Anthony. Suzanne B. Anthony was an American social reformer and women rights activist who played a pivotal role in the women's suffrage movement. Born into a Quaker family committed to social equality, she collected anti-slavery petition at the age of 17. In 1856, she became the New York state agent for the American Anti-Slavery Society. Then we have Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Elizabeth Cady Stanton was an American writer and activist who was a leader of the women rights movement in the US during the mid to the late 19th century. She was the main force behind the 1848 Seneca Fall Convention, the first convention to be called for the sole purpose of discussing women rights, and was the primary author of Declaration of Sentiments. Her demands for women right to vote generated a controversy at the convention, but quickly became a central tenet of the women movement. She was also active in other social reform activities, especially abolitionism. The first organized movement aimed at gaining right for American women effectively began in July 1848 with the convention organized by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott at Seneca Fall, New York. Then the third one, Elizabeth Stone Blackwell. Elizabeth Stone Blackwell was an American feminist, suffragist, journalist, radical socialist, and human rights advocate. Blackwell was born in East Orange, New Jersey to Jersey. She was the niece of Elizabeth Blackwell, American first female physician. Her mother, Susan B. Anthony, joined the women rights movement and was the first woman to earn a college degree in Massachusetts. The first to keep her own last name after getting married, which was very uncommon in those days, and the first to speak about women rights full time. Blackwell is also well known for her work towards women rights. Right. Then Emmeline Pankhurst. Emmeline Pankhurst was a British political activist who organized the British suffragette movement and helped women to win in 1918 the right to vote in Great Britain and Ireland. So now women are contesting for election. They are running the offices as president, vice president, and even prime minister. But in olden days, they were not allowed to get even they were not allowed to vote. Then Sojourner Truth, formerly enslaved woman, Sojourner Truth became an outspoken advocate for abolition, temperance, and civil and women rights in the 19th century. Her Civil War work earned her an invitation to meet President Abraham Lincoln in 1864. Then there are some feminist writers. We have already discussed about Mary Wollstonecraft and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Then there are others like Angela Davis, Margaret Fuller, Audre Lorde, Bell Hook, George Eliot, Alice Walker, and Virginia Woolf. I hope all the people, literary people, have read Alice Walker, George Eliot, and Virginia Woolf. Then Angela Davis, Angela Yon Davis is an American Marxist and feminist political activist, philosopher, academic, and author. She is distinguished professor emerita of feminist studies and history of consciousness at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Davis was long-time member of the Communist Party and a founding member of Committee of Correspondence for Democracy and Socialism. She was active in movements such as the Occupy movement and the boycott, die investment and sanction campaign. Then Margaret Fuller. She was an American critic, teacher, and woman of letter whose effort to civilize the states and enrich the life of a contemporary made her significant in the history of American culture. She is particularly remembered for her landmark book, Women in the 19th Century, which was published in 1845, which examined the place of women within society. In Women in the 19th Century, Fuller urged young women to seek greater independence from the home and family and to obtain such independence through education. She disdained the notion that women should be satisfied with domesticity, suggesting instead that women should be allowed to fulfill their personal potential by doing whatever work appealed to them. Let them be sea captain if they will. Women in the 19th century further advocated the reform of property law that were unfair to women, a controversial and unpopular idea in many quarters. The book, unprecedented and frank discussion of marriage and relation between men and women, also scandalized many. The first edition of the book sold out in a week and sparked a heated debate, bringing issue of women right to the nation attention. Then Audre Lorde, a self described black lesbian mother warrior poet. Audre Lorde dedicated both her life and her creative talent to confronting and addressing injustice of racism, sexism, classism, and homophobia. Concern with modern society tendency to categorize group of people, Lorde found the marginalization of such categories as lesbian and black writer. Uh, Black woman. She was central to many liberation movement and activist circle, including second wave feminism, civil rights and black cultural movement, and struggle for LGBTQ equality. In particular, poetry is known for the power of its call for social and racial justice, as well as depiction of queer experience and sexuality. Then Bell Hooker, a very famous scholar, American scholar and activist whose work examined the connection between race, gender, and class. She often explored the various perception of Black women and Black women writer and the development of feminist identity. Then George Eliot. We all know that Eliot has to take up is the pen name of Mary Ann Evans. And in those days, women were not so. There were not many women writer, and so George Eliot, due to some circumstances, have taken Mary Ann Evans has to take the name of a man to write. So she was an English novelist, poet, journalist, translator, and one of the leading writer of the Victorian India, who has written 7 novels. She has a vision of the world where a woman, specifically feminine characteristics, were valued as much as those of men, and she contended that this would be for the benefit of society more generally. Then we have Alice Walker. We all know that Alice Walker was an American novelist, short story writer, poet, and social activist. In 1862, she became the first African American woman to win the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, which she was awarded for her novel *The Color Purple*. As an activist, Walker participated in the civil rights movement, advocated for the women of color through the term womanism, and has been involved in an animal advocacy and pacifism. Additionally, she has taken a strong stance on the Israeli Palestinian conflict, supporting the boycott, investment, and sanction campaign against Israel. Then we have Virginia Woolf, famous for A Room of One's Own. She is an English writer known for her feminist stand. She is considered as one of the important modernist 20th century author. She pioneered the use of stream of consciousness technique as a narrative technique, and a very active feminist writer, famous for many important work. Then there are some feminist critics, like some of them Dr. Shaista has already discussed, but they are like Simone de Beauvoir, Betty Friedan, Elaine Showalter, German Gear, Lisa Tettel, Margaret Fuller, Julia Kristeva, Helena Sixes. Simone de Beauvoir, Simone Lucie Ernestine Mary Bertrand de Beauvoir, this is her full name, was a French existentialist, philosopher, writer, social theorist, and feminist activist. Though she did not consider herself a philosopher, nor was she considered as one of at the time of her death, she has a significant influence on both feminist existentialism and feminist theory, and now she is very popular worldwide. She wrote, she is famous for her book The Second Sex, which she published in 1949, detail and in which she has given a detailed analysis of women operation and a fundamental tract of contemporary feminism. And she is known for her novel also. Then we have Betty Friedan, a journalist, activist, and co-founder of National Organization for Women. Betty Friedan was one of the early leader of the women right movement of the 1960s and 70s. Her 1963 best-selling book, The Feminine Mystique, gave voice to millions of American women frustration with their limited gender role and helped spark widespread public activism for gender equality. Then we have Lisa Tittle. Lisa Gracia Tuttle, an American-born science fiction, fantasy, and horror author who has published more than a dozen novel, short story collection, and non-fiction title, including a reference book on feminism, Encyclopedia of Feminism. Turtle fiction often focuses on gender issue and includes strong-willed women who question their identity. Then we have Margaret Fuller. Sarah Margaret Fuller, sometimes referred to as Margaret Fuller Orsoli, an American journalist, editor, critic, translator, and women rights activist associated with the American Transcendentalism movement. She was the first American female war correspondent and full-time book reviewer in journalism. Her book, Women in the 19th Century, is considered the first major feminist work in the United States. Uh, she was an advocate of women rights and, in particular, women education and the right to environment. Fuller, along with Samuel Taylor Coleridge, wanted to stay free for what she called the strong mental odor of female teacher. She also encouraged many other reforms in society, including prison reform and emancipation of slaves in the United States. Then we have Elaine Showalter, an American literary critic, feminist, and a writer on cultural social issue. She influenced feminist literary criticism in the United States academia, developing the concept and practice of gynocriticism, a term describing the study of women as writer. Walter has written and edited numerous book and article focused on a variety of subjects, from feminist literary criticism to fashion, sometimes sparking controversially or so. Then we have German Gear, another famous writer from Australia. She is from Australia, a public intellectual, regarded as one of the major voice of the second wave feminism movement in the later half of the 20th century. Specializing in English and women literature, she has created controversy ever since her first book, The Female Eunuch, published in 1970, made her a household name. Then we have some other feminist critics like Sandra Gilbert and Suzanne Guber, who both published The Mad Woman in the Attic, an analysis of women poetry and prose and how it fits into the larger feminist literary canon. The publication has become a staple of feminist criticism and has expanded the real of publication considered to be the feminist work, especially in the 19th century. Then we have many French scholars like Julia Kristeva, Helena Sixers, Lucy Irigaray, Bracha who introduced psychoanalytic discourse into their work by way of Sigmund Freud and Jacques Lacan as a way to truly get to the root of feminism. Then there's famous book, lots of books on feminism, like then coming to the contribution of Indian women, contribution to suffrage movement, we have Sophia Dilip Singh, who was an Indian but living in the Western world. She was the most prominent woman of Indian heritage in the British suffragette movement. Sophia became involved in the Women Tax Resistance League and association that refused to pay their taxes, arguing as women didn't have the vote, they shouldn't have to pay their taxes. Their rallying cry was no taxation without representation. In June 1911, for example, there was a suffrage coronation procession through London where some Indian women were invited to take part and encouraged to wear their national dress sari. Then these are the books on feminism. Those who want to read this work on feminism or gender study, they should read this book like Judith Butler, Gender Trouble, Sandra Gilbert and Susan Guber, The Mad Woman of Attic, Toril Moi, Sexual Textual Politics, Rita Felsky, Literature After Feminism, Annette Corodoni, Dancing Through the Mansfield, and some observation on the theory, practice, and politics of a feminist literary criticism. And these are also some book by Adela Rinzer, Jewish women scholarly writing on the Bible, Elizabeth Fiorenza, feminist Bible scholar, Suzanne Freeman, The Humiliation of Elizabeth Bennet, then Robin Hilary Wenberg, third wave feminist, history and politics of being visible and being real. Erin Showalter, a literature of their own. Helen Sixer, The Law of the Medusa. Mary Eagleton, feminist literary theory. Then coming to Indian feminism. First, I would like to ask all the Indians who are present in the session, what do they mean about Indian feminism? Is Indian feminism different from from the feminism from the Western world? Who can answer this? Is Indian feminism or feminism in India different from the Western world? Any Indian want to answer this question, or anybody? Uh, am I audible?
You are very audible.
Okay. Can any Indian or anybody answer this question? What is Indian feminism? Is it different from the Western world? Any Indian scholar or somebody from any other country can answer this. Okay, I don't see any answer. So, when it comes to Indian feminism is some way quite contrary to Western feminism, and we see many revolutionary men advocating women right in India. Though it is believed that feminist movement in India started in the 19th century, there are many examples of revolutionary women who have stood against the social society and lived their life on their own will. So, feminism in India started back, much before the women suffrage movement in Europe. See, what feminism doesn't only mean that you are taking out the procession. Feminism also means that when a woman is going against the society and setting an example, or she's a pioneer in some aspect, or she's entering into the man world. So there are many examples. There are lots of things discussed about the women in ancient India, but since these that are called as mythical aspects, so I don't want to discuss about that. Will be discussing about the women which are in the middle in ages, and after that. So let us discuss about the male advocate of women rights in India. There have been Emperor Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar, who was an advocate of women rights. Then Raja Ram Mohan Roy, a crusader of women rights. Jyotiba Rao Phule, who has worked for the education of women. Dayanand Saraswati, Kandukuri Veera Salingam, Sayyid Mumtaz Ali, Chandra Vidyasagar, and Mahatma Gandhi. So, uh, these are uh, these are the crusader or revolutionary men and advocator of women rights India. So coming to the revolutionary, it is Raja Ram Mohan Roy. It was during the British rule in India that many relevant changes were made in order to ameliorate the pathetic condition of women. The viceroy Lord William Bentinck banned sati in 1829. Social reformer like Raja Ram Mohan Roy has supported its move. Similarly, remarriage of widow was sanctioned in 1856 and 1921. A law was passed prohibiting girls' child marriage. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy is considered a pioneer of reform movement in the 19th century, who opposed cruel custom and started new venture to educate the public. Then coming to Emperor Akbar. Akbar's treatment of women during his rule over the Mughal Empire reflected a progressive approach. He was a reformist for his time, as he carried out many policies and action which clearly reflected his ideas to improve the social status of women. He believed in the economic independence of women, for which he even used to organize Meena Bazaar, where women used to sell their creativity and product. He promoted their education and included them in the broader cultural and administrative life of the Mughal Empire. He established the library of Fatehpur Sikri exclusively for women, and he decreed the establishment of school for the education of both Muslim and Hindu throughout the realm. Akbar also established a Mahal system providing education and opportunity for royal women. He tried to abolish the practice of sati, though it was Raja Ram Mohan Rai who was able to success. He who was able to abolish sati. Akbar discouraged child marriage and promoted widow marriage. Though Akbar had six wives, which was common in those days, he never tried to impose his will on them or dominate them. He built a fort named Jodha Mahal for her personal accommodation. He also permitted her to worship her own religion, God, and she was free to perform of her religious ritual. Eventually, he also took part in them. Then we have Jyotiba Phule. Jyotiba Rao Govindrao Phule was an Indian social activist, businessman, anti-caste reformer, and writer from Maharashtra. His work extended to many fields, including the eradication of untouchability and the caste system, and for his effort in educating women and oppressed class. He and his wife Savitribai Phule were pioneer of women education in India, who started the first school for girl in 1848 in Pune at Tatya Saheb Bhide resident or Bhidewara. Then Swami Dayanand, founder of Arya Samaj, he also propagated women education. John Drinkwater Bethune established the first women college in Indian Calcutta in 1849. Among Dayanand's contribution is opposition to untouchability, promotion of equal right for women, and his commentary uh, on education to Veda. Then Kandukuri Veera Salingam, a social reformer and writer from Madras Presidency, British India. He is considered a father of Telugu Renaissance movement. He was one of the early social reformer who encouraged the education of women and the remarriage of widow, though which was not supported by the society during that time. He also fought against child marriage and the dowry system. He is often considered Raja Ram Mohan Roy of Andhra. He was known by his title Gadya Tikana or Tikana of Prose. Then Sayyid Mumtaz Ali Deobandi was an Indian Sunni Muslim scholar and an advocate of women rights in the 19th century. He was an alumnus of Darul Uloom Deoband. His book Hakuk and Iswan and the journal Tehzeeb and Iswan that he started with his wife Muhammadi Begum are said to be the pioneer works on women rights. American historian Gail Minault argued in her article, Sayyid Mumtaz Ali and Hukuk un Niswan, an advocate of women rights in Islam, is in the late 19th century, that Mumtaz Ali Hukuk un Niswan was undoubtedly too far in advance of his time. Then Ishwachan Vidyasagar, and again Indian educator and social reformer of the 19th century. In the 1815, he started many primary school in the villages of Bengal and is considered a major contributor to philosophy and education, who advocated girls' education and established school for them in the early 19th century. Then we have already discussed about Jyotiba Roy Phule. Then Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi openly, firmly opined that Indian salvation depend on the sacrifice and enlightenment of women. While narrating about women position, he was of opinion that just as fundamentally man and woman are one, their problems must be one in essence. The soul in both is the same. The two lives, they two live the same life, have the same feeling. Each is a complement to the other. One cannot live without the other's help, active help. Gandhiji recognized that women were made subordinate to man through several social practice, and that these have conditioned women through process. He writes, somehow other men, I quote, somehow other men have dominated women from ages past, and so women have developed an inferiority complex. He has believed in the truth of man interest. She has believed in the truth of man interest, teaching that she is inferior to him. But the seers among them have recognized her equal status. Now, there are some feminist voices in male Indian author, like Amir Khusro, Munshi Premchand, Rabindranath Tagore, R.K. Ranayan, Bhabani Bhattacharya. Amir Khusro, who was an Indo-Persian Sufi singer, a musician and scholar who lived during the period of Delhi Sultanate, an iconic figure in the cultural history of Indian subcontinent, a mystic and spiritual disciple of Nizamuddin Aulia, the Sufi mystic. Really, he wrote song dedicated to female suffering as अब जो किए हो दाता ऐसो न कीजो अगले जन्म मोहे बेटियां न कीजो. In English it means, whatever you have done, Lord, don't do it again. Don't make me a girl in my next birth. Then काहे को ब्याहे विदेश उलखिया बाबुल. Why have you in English it is, why have you married me to a foreign land, my dear parent? So many great Indian women writer then I will be getting it short. Then we have writer like Rabindranath Tagore, R.K. Narayan, Munshi Premchand, Bhavani Bhattacharya, Munshi Premchand is famous for depicting about uh, the plight of Dalit women through Nirmala. In his novel Nirmala, which has now been translated into Hindi, he has tried to show the suffering of women, especially Dalit women. Then Rabindranath Tagore, in his writing, has shown how women have suffered in those days. And uh, R.K. Narayan, in his novel, especially The Dark Room, has shown how women were dependent upon men, and a man. If a man was interested in some other woman, then also she has to forgive him. And Bhabani Bhattacharya, a voice, a novelist who has shown the suffering during the partition era, during the pre-independent era, has shown how women were suffering in their domestic household. Then coming to the Bhakti movement. Now, we have seen many women. Uh, it would be many more century before Indian women would start demanding and actually getting some more literary agency. The were, of course, women outside the ambit of society, who have been cast off the weight of being a man property, found their voices. So these women, uh, they they came out from the traditional role of wife and established themselves as a seer, as a poet, as a spiritual leader. So the Bhakti movement, which became a level playing field as Eal Star like Andal, 7th or 8th centuries, Akka Mahadevi, uh, 12th century, Lal Dev, 14th century, and Mirabai's 16th century. Though uh, primarily devotional and directed to a male god, their poem reflect an autonomy of spirit in a society that's expected only convention and obedience from them. In their rejection of conventional gender, role, and attribute, they set the earliest example of feminism in action. Uh, so I am shortening my lecture because it is a very big, and we have paucity of time. Then coming to women, Mughal women, we have some fine example like Gulbadan Begum, Jodhabai, which was called Mariam Uzzamani, also Noor Jahan, Jahan Ara Begum, Zebun Nisa. So close on their heel come fiery Mughal women, brandishing their unique brand of feminism. And despite their largely coexistent existence, some of the Mughal princes and queen lived on their own turn and left behind record for us to read and get motivated. Remarkable among them, their writing record Ahwal-e Humayun Badshah by Gulbadan Begum, 16th century, making her perhaps the first female historian of the Mughal court. Her writing, those chronicling the life of her brother Emperor Humayun, often interesting perspective on life within the Zenana, means female, uh, and even mention a ladies only Mecca too that she and her associated went on. Then Jodhabai, the queen of Emperor Akbar, a Hindu Rajput princess, and his favorite wife. Her marriage to Akbar led to a gradual shift in the later religious and social policies. She is widely regarded in modern Indian historiography as exemplifying both Akbar's tolerance of religious difference and their inclusive policy within an expanding multi-ethnic and multi-religious empire. She was said to possess uncommon beauty. She was widely known for both her grace and intellect. She was given the name Maryam Uzzamani because of giving birth to the higher. Described as an intellectual, amiable, and kind woman, she was often consulted by Akbar on important matter. Then writing was also among the many talent of the great Empress Noor Jahan. She is known to have written poetry, though not much of it survived. Like her Padshah Begum, Jahara too was renowned for her autonomous way and the love of art things. She not only wrote but also commissioned a composition and translation of several books. A renowned Sufi Fakira herself, she wrote Risala Sahibi Yahwa, a biography of a chosen spiritual master, Mullah Shah, and Munis al Awa, a biography of a great saint, Muinuddin Chishti. Her niece Jebunisa followed in her footsteps and became an accomplished social scholar, a patron of art and poetess, committed to the art. She composed voluminous work of poetry, which are many in number, like Diwane Makfik, Moinun Room, Zebul Tasifir. Then there are warrior queens. In India, we have many warrior queen. Now, this is an irony that when in Europe, women were not allowed to vote. In India, women were ruling also. There are many examples. Razia, first and the only female ruler of Delhi, Razia Sultan. She was the ruler of the Delhi Sultanate in the northern part of Indian subcontinent. She remained the only woman who sat on the throne of Delhi. Her accession to the throne of Delhi was not unique, was unique not only because she was a woman, but also because the support from the general public was the driving force behind her appointment. According to the 14th century text, Futuh Salatin, she had asked people to depose her if she failed to meet the uh, expectation. Now we have many warrior queen who have fought for their land, for homeland, whether it were male ruler within themselves or with Britisher, like Rani Durgavati, Rani Chinnamach, Chan Bibi, Rani Aliya Bai Olkar, Rani Velu Nachia, Rani Avanti Bai Lodi, uh, Rani Lakshmi Bai, Begum Hazrat Mahal, Begum Zeenat Mahal. So, Rani Durgavati, the queen regent of Gondwana in 1550-1564 AD, who married Dalpat Rai, she served as a regent of Gondwana during the minority of her son, Veer Narayan. She is chiefly remembered for defending Gondwana against the Mughal Empire. Then Rani Chinnamma, named as Kittur Chinnamba, was the Indian queen of Chittur, a formerly princely state in present day Karnataka. She led an armed resistance against the British East India Company in defense of the paramountcy in an attempt to regain control over her dominion. She defeated the company in the first revolt, but died as the prisoner of war after the second rebellion. As one of the female and few female who would lead Kittur forces against British colonization, she continued to be remembered as folk hero in Karnataka. She is also an important symbol of the Indian independence movement. Then Chand Bibi, who was Sultana Chand Bibi, an Indian ruler and warrior, she acted as a regent of Bijapur Sultanate during the minority of Ibrahim Adil Shah in 1580 to 1590. A regent of Ahmednagar Sultanate during the minority of her great nephew Bahadur Shah in 1595 to 1600. She is best known for defending Ahmednagar against Emperor Akbar in 1595. Then we have Ahilya Bai Holkar, a famous name in Maharashtra. She was the Rajmata and later the ruling queen of Indore within the Maratha Confederacy. She established Maheshwar as the seat of the Holkar dynasty. Uh, she contributed to the growth of the Indian architecture through the commission of various temple ghats and a beloved figure of Indian history. She is renowned for good government, social welfare, and humanitarian work, along with the religious education, cultural advancement. Then we have Rani Velu Nachiyar, a queen of Shivanga state from in 1780 to 90. She was the first Indian queen to wage war with the East India Company in India. She is known by Tamil as Virangamangai, brave, meaning brave woman. With the support of Hyder Ali army, feudal lord, the Maruthu brothers, Dalit commander, and Tandavarayan Pillai, she fought the East India Company. It is believed that she defeated the British army. Then we have Rani Avanti Bai Lodhi, a Lodhi Rajput queen, ruler, and freedom fighter. She was the queen of Ramgarh in Madhya Pradesh, an opponent of the British East India Company during the Indian Rebellion of 1857. And information concerning her is sparse and mostly come from folklore. In the 21st century, she has been used as a political icon in the Lodhi community. Then Rani Lakshmi Bai, who is a famous in North India, especially in my state, was the Maharani consort of the princely state of Jhansi in the Maratha Empire from 1843 to 53 by marriage to Maharaja Gangadhar Rao Nevalkar. She was one of the leading figure in the Indian rebellion of 1857, who became a national hero and symbol of resistance to British rule in India for Indian national. It is believed that she fought like a man, means more than a man. Then Begum Hazrat Mahal, known as Begum of Awadh, was known for the leading role she had in the rebellions against the British East India Company during the Indian Rebellion of 1857. Then we have Zeenat Mahal, the only wife and de facto regent of Mughal Empire kingdom on behalf of her husband. The Mughal during the revolt of 1857, she was also one of the rebel fighting against the British. Then we have some more warrior like Maharani Tarabai Bhosle, the regent of Maratha Empire from 1700 to 1780, and Rudrama Devi, known as by her regional name Rudra Devi Maharaja, a Kakatiya queen who ruled substantial part of present-day Telangana. Not only warrior queen, there have been many women from the lower section of society, like the right hand of Rani Lakshmi Bai was Jhalkari Bai, who also fought very bravely, and she died fighting with the British and attained martyrdom. Then we have so there are lots of women who were not though belong to the lower section of the society, and they fought against the British, and they have the or they had a very important role in the freedom struggle of India. Then there are some women activists. Feminism as an initiative started independently in Maharashtra by the pioneering of women right and education. Savitribai Phule, who started the first school, first female teacher in India, a social reformer and a poet. She is considered to be the pioneer of uh, Indian feminist movement. She strived to abolish discrimination and fair treatment of people based on gender and caste. She, with her husband, were pioneer of women education in India. They started their first school for girls in 1848 in Pune, and Tatya Bhai Bhires, resident Bindi. Wala. Then we have Ruqayya Sakhawat Hussain, commonly known as Begum Ruqayya, was a prominent Bengali female thinker, writer, educator, and a political activist from British India. She is widely regarded as the pioneer of women liberation in Bangladesh and India, who founded the Muslim Women Association in 1916, an organization that fought for women education and women empowerment. In 1926, Ruqayya presided over the Bengal Women Education Conference convened in Kolkata, the first significant attempt to bring women together in support of women education. Then we have many activists like Fatima Sheikh, an Indian educator and social reformer, colleague of social reformer Jyotiba Rao Phule and Savitri Bai Phule. She is also widely considered to be India's first Muslim woman teacher. Then we have Sarojini Naidu, a Indian political activist and poet who served as the first governor of United Province after India's independence, played an important role in the Indian independence movement against the British Raj. Then we have uh, the Begums of Bhopal. The Begums of Bhopal were women who were much ahead of their time. They include Kutsia Begum, the one who fought for her right, Nawab Sikandar Begum, the one who survived the man's world, Nawab Shah Jahan Begum, the one who inspired others, Nawab Sultan Jahan Begum, the one who uplifted and educated others. Uh, we have lots to discuss about them, but since the paucity of time, so coming to the woman writer, there are Pandita woman activist Pandita Ramabai Saraswati, an Indian social reformer and Christian missionary, who was the first woman to be awarded the title of Pandita as Sanskrit scholar, and Saraswati uh, after being examined by the faculty of the University of Calcutta. And we have she published the high uh, caste Hindu woman, her first book in English. Ramabai dedicated it to her cousin Dr. Joshi. Then we have Tarabai Shinde, a feminist activist who protested patriarchy and caste in 19th century India, known for her published work Stri Purush Tulna, a comparison between woman and man. Dr. Anandibai Joshi, the first Indian female doctor of Western medicine, Ramabai Ranade, an Indian social worker and one of the first women rights activists in the early 20th century. Then Kamla Basin, who died recently on 5th September 2021, an Indian developmental feminist activist, poet, author, and social scientist. Her work began in 1970, focused on gender education, human development, and the media. She was best known for her work with Sangat, a feminist network, and for a poem "क्योंकि मैं लड़की हूँ मुझे पढ़ना है." Because I am a girl, I have to study. In 1995, she recited a refurbished feminist version of the poem Azadi Freedom in a conference. She was also the South Asian coordinator of 1 Billion Rising. These are her quotes. Then we have Iron Lady of India, Indira Gandhi. Indira Priyadarshini Gandhi was an Indian politician and stateswoman who served as the third Prime Minister of India, and she is the third woman head of our country. Then we have many feminist writers like Ishmat Chugtai, Amrita Pritam, Kamla Das, Kamla Markandeya, Mahashweta Devi, Anita Desai, Shashi Deshpande, Urvashi Bhutalia. Ishmat Chugtai, an Indian Urdu novelist, short story writer, liberal humanist, and filmmaker. She is known for her feminist stand, a woman, revolutionary woman who was criticized for writing about lesbian, gay, uh, and then Amrita Pritap, a woman has led an unconventional life, an Indian novelist, essayist, and poet who wrote in Punjabi and Hindi. Amrita, an icon, classic literary woman, and a woman who defied convention. Kamla Das, later known as Kamla Suraiya, popularly known by her one-time pen name Madhavakuttian team. She is an Indian poet uh, who was also nominated for Nobel Prize for her poem. She Her fame in Kerala primarily stemmed from her short story and autobiography, My Story, and she was a widely read columnist and wrote on diverse topics, including women issue, child care, politics, etc. Her liberal treatment of female sexuality mark her as an icon class in popular culture. She is considered a revolutionary who wrote in a bold way. Then Kamla Markandeya, a British Indian novelist and journalist, respected by many for her outspoken voice among the Indian people and often been credited by many for bringing recognition to Indian literature. As an Indian woman novelist, she depicted Indian women issues and problem very deeply in her work. Then we have Mahashweta Devi, whose notable literary work include Hazar Chaurasi Ki Ma, Rudali Aranyar Adhikar. She was a leftist who worked for the rights and empowerment of tribal people of West Bengal, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh states of India. Anita Desai, an Indian novelist and emerita. She has been shortlisted for Booker Prize 3 times. Her novel depicts the inner life of the woman character. Then we have Shashi Deshpande, who is the recipient of Sahitya Academy Award, a crusader of women rights, because in all her novels she has depicted the suffering of women. Feminism plays a significant role in Shashi Deshpande's literary work. Then we have Urvashi Bhutalia, an Indian feminist writer, publisher, and activist known for her work in the women movement of India, as well as for authoring books such as The Other Side of Silence, Voice from and the Partition of India's Voice from the Speaking Peace, Women Voices from Kashmir. Then there are feminist critics like Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak and Chandra Talpade Mohanty. Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, an Indian scholar, literary theorist, and feminist critic, a university professor at Columbia University and a founding member of Establishment Institute for Comparative Literature, considered one of the most influential post-colonial literature. Spivak is best known for her essay Can the Subaltern Speak? And her translation of An Introduction to Jacques Derrida de la Grammatologie. She has translated many work of Mahashweta Devi into English and with separate critical note on Devi's life and writing style, notably imagining map and breast story. Then Chandra Talpade Mohanty, a distinguished professor of women and gender study, sociology, and the cultural foundation of education, and dean professor of humanities at Syracuse University. Mohanty, a post-colonial and transnational feminist theorist, has argued for the inclusion of a transnational approach in exploring women experience across the world. She is the author of Feminism Without Border, Decolonizing. Feminism Without Border is a very good book. Feminism Without Border, Decolonizing Theory, Practice, Solidarity is a very good book. Those who are interested in gender studies, then there are many other work by her, like Third World Woman and the Politics of Feminism, Feminist Genealogies, Colonial Legacies, Democratic Future, Feminism and the War, the Sage Handbook of Identities. Then coming to ecofeminism. Ecofeminism is considered to be a political and intellectual movement that combines feminism and environmentalism. It argues that the operation of women and the degradation of the environment are interconnected and result from patriarchal and capitalist system. Ecofeminism is a movement that sees a connection between the exploitation and degradation of natural world and the subordination and oppression of women. It emerged in the mid 1970s alongside second wave feminism and the green movement. Then there are some eco-feminists like Vandana Shiva, Beena Agarwal, and Vinda Karat, famous eco-feminist and thinker of India. They accept that in patriarchy, women and the environment both are subordinated by men. The Chipko movement is a fine example of women power. So there are a lot many things to discuss about feminism in India or feminism in general, but we can discuss in only this much in this time. So thank you very much. Thank you for your patience for listening me for 1 hour. Rosa, if you are you there? Or Zola, can you
Put the sound off.
thank you, Nikki, for this for allowing us to do this wonderful gender
That's
studies.
enough.
I go to jail. Well, he's free to find a real fortune. You think that's justice,
So just leave. How many are here?
I don't know, just check.
Put the sound off. No, just put a few more. There's not even 10 in here. Just give me 3 more.
I'll do that.
Hey, just 3.
Yeah. Why?
Hello? Rose?
Yes, Nikki, we are there.
Okay, there we go. Are you ready to close off? Are we ready to close off?
Yes, Nikki.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So thank you so much to everybody for joining these sessions. They're going to go on for a few more weeks with some truly inspiring speakers. And everybody present is going to have the opportunity to learn a lot because we are going through great change in our world today, and women are taking most of the weight in the conflict situations in different countries. So this is a very important training ground for women and also for the men. Thank you so much for joining, because for me that shows that you have great respect and that you appreciate women a lot. So I also want to thank Dr. Shaminaz and Dr. Shasta, because it was their idea to launch special sessions for women. And they worked really hard to put it all together. And then I want to thank the team, Joseph Akinoli and Noman. And I also want to thank the whole team that were involved in putting all of this together. They've worked really hard. It's been amazing.
The recording has stopped.